Hello everyone, it is the me, Game Penguin 21, and today, well, we're going to do a little bit of a smaller video today, because this was meant to replace a specific other video that I was going to be making today, which was a review of a game. Now, this was a review that I wanted to do because I had nothing else to talk about, but I think I'll save that for maybe this coming Saturday or something like that, because I've run out of things to talk about, and I want to get that video out, because, quite honestly, it's a good review. But today we are going to be talking about the gaudy nominations. Now, obviously, yes, the Game of the Year awards, and mainly the Game Awards, are upon us once again. And with this being yet another divisive year where a lot of interesting games has come out, there seems to be a lot of discussion around the Game of the Year nominations and why there is so few things having to do with specific games. Mainly with the PlayStation people as well as the Xbox people, because both sides are fucking spewing out salt. So, with that being said, let's get started. So I originally saw this tweet by the good old Mighty Keith here, saying, "Bro, not a single Xbox game got nominated for Game of the Year, and people had the audacity to question my concern for the state of that console. 120 media outlets agreed to this lineup, not a single Xbox game. This is very concerning." And of course, we're just going to go through all of the entries for specifically the Game of the Year award, that being Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Spider-Man Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, I'm only really surprised for about half of these. I for one called the fact that Baldur's Gate 3, I think a lot of people called the fact that Baldur's Gate 3 was going to be nominated as well, and a lot of people also said Tears of the Kingdom. Both of those are just, like, of course they're going to be up there. Spider-Man 2 is a little bit more surprising, but understandable, because at the very least it did do something. But the more surprising things here is Alan Wake 2, Resident Evil 4, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder, at least for me personally. Now, to give my full opinion on this lineup, it's not the baddest lineup. There's been a heck of a lot worse lineups for Game of the Year and stuff. But of course, you can see 3 of those games are not on Xbox, whereas the other ones actually are multi-plats. But if I were to say of this lineup, which one has this in the bag, Baldur's Gate 3, hands down, no question. If that doesn't win and it goes to Spider-Man 2, I am just whatever. But here's the thing, again, I don't care. I really don't. Like I thought I would have loved it to be a weird thing for it to even be nominated in there, but now looking at this lineup, that kind of makes sense. One of the more surprising ones, at least to me, is Resident Evil 4, because that is just a remake. I don't know, I just feel like that shouldn't be up there for some reason. Just, again, personal opinion aside, but whatever. Next up, we've got Tipster doing the whole, I knew Xbox would get nominated for Flop of the Year 2023, and I'm fairly certain that this is the meme post and stuff that is here. And what I find really funny is that Forspoken is up there, and, you know, Hyenas is up there. Both, like, this is clearly some sort of meme post from what I can tell here. But at the end of the day, whatever. Who cares? Who cares? Next up, we've got good old Unleashed here, saying that Starfield only has 1 nomination, with Spider-Man 2 having 7. Again, it's one of those things where you have to question here how they tend to go about doing this sort of nomination type stuff. And for me, it does seem like a lot of things do seem, conspiracy theory time, they do seem to skew a lot more towards PlayStation. For example, last year, if everyone remembers to the last year, when God of War Ragnarok went up against Elden Ring, everyone always brought up the fact that Elden Ring did not actually win that many awards in that sentence, even though eventually it became one of the most awarded games of all time in terms of awards. But not only that, right, that God of War Ragnarok was nominated for more places, but didn't win the overall award show, or didn't win the overall award show for whatever reason. And now they're crying out media bias for that. And now people are wondering why we cry out for media bias in terms of PlayStation. Just seems weird to me. Next up, we got one here by saying that it's official that Xbox still has no first-party exclusive nominated for Game of the Year for the 11th year in a row, with a bunch of the games here being listed off for PlayStation and Nintendo, and just no Xbox games. I'm fairly certain that Xbox will eventually have something there. If they don't, whatever, who cares? They don't make those kinds of very big award show games. They make successful games, sure, but they just don't seem to win as many awards as they used to, or they don't seem to win as many awards at all. I remember when Game of the Year used to actually mean something to me. I remember when, say, Left 4 Dead 2 had like a Game of the Year edition, or there was like a few editions, like when they got like a Game of the Year nomination or something, there was like, oh, we can do like a Game of the Year edition, and they can repackage it with the entire DLC and whatnot all together. I think that would be far more cool, at least how things used to be. Next up, we've got, of course, the Red Dragon, where it's like the most nominated games for the Game Awards, with Baldur's Gate being no surprise, obviously. I agree there. Spider-Man 2 has 7, apparently. I don't know why. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't know why. Saying it's well-deserved. Final Fantasy got several as well. The biggest snub, by far, was Hogwarts Legacy. And I can see why maybe the mainstream media doesn't want to put Hogwarts Legacy out there anymore, because it already had a lot of problems that people had with it, and there was a huge controversy around it, so we're not going to get into that. Whereas Starfield deserved nothing, even though it got one nomination for something. Look, the Starfield drama at this point seems to basically just live rent-free in a lot of these people's heads right now. And Starfield itself is not a bad game. It's really not. It's mid, sure, but it's Bethesda mid, which is kind of charming, at least to the person who understands what Bethesda mid means. Just, I don't know, very weird to me. Next up, we've got a Kotaku article with Starfield ghosted at 2023 Game Awards, which I just wanted to highlight this because, fuck, that is just so rich coming from Kotaku. Like, it's so funny to me that they're like, that they thought that this right here deserved a fucking article. I don't know. I don't like Kotaku. I don't think anyone should really read Kotaku, because they have just very biased views and stuff, and even like get used in the console wars by people. Like, I just don't trust them. I really don't. Except we got Xbox News, not affiliated with Xbox, apparently, with Starfield has been snubbed in the Game of the Year category nominations at the Game of the Year's 2023. I don't think so. I mean, again, it's good, but I wouldn't expect it to be Game of the Year. I'd be surprised if it got Game of the Year. I in my deepest pits of desire, kind of wanted it to, just to get people to shut the fuck up. But at the end of the day, I don't think that it deserves that. Really. I mean, a nomination for Game of the Year, it released in a very state, and it's only, again, pretty mid, but Bethesda mid, like I mentioned before. So I'd still say it's a fun game. It's a good game for what it is, but quite honestly, Game of the Year material, yeah. Which I know some people might contradict that and say, like, oh, you actually said this in this video earlier that day. It's like, yeah, and you know what? I don't stand by if I ever said that this deserved Game of the Year or deserved the nomination. I was probably either making a joke or it was a different opinion that I held like 3 or 4 months ago. So, whatever. Next up, we've got J-Dub with Microsoft spent $100 billion on publishers and studios and still can't get a Game of the Year nomination. Starting to think these gamers don't like starting to think people gamers don't like Xbox. Other than that strange last sentence, I think that actually more or less just denounces the whole circle jerking aspect of this game, of the Game of the Year awards, at least to me. Like, I don't, like, it's not the gamers that are voting on these sorts of things, that are creating the nominations for these. I would say that the Steam Awards are far more democratic, because at least in that context, you can pick some of the games that you have actually played to vote for and put votes towards. So yeah, you might have smaller games that are in those specific categories, but you can put up any game that has that, at least from there. Like, again, it just, to me, it doesn't scream the fact that gamers don't like Xbox, because Xbox is very successful still. 6 million, 10 million players, a lot of which have bought and played a lot of Starfield. And yet, you know, it's I don't know. I just think that seems like a very biased fucking view to have, and coming from J-Dub, that's not really saying a lot. Game Awards is 100% worthless. 2077 came out in 2020. That's actually kind of true. If they're doing Phantom Liberty specifically, like the DLC, that's confusing. Why are we giving DLC the thing? Unless it's like in the DLC category, in which case that kind of makes sense. Hogwarts Legacy got 0 nominations. I mean, again, I think that that's part of the whole media thing that I've been talking about this hour. Starfield got 1 nomination. That's not the end of the world. With Forza Motorsport got 1 nomination. That's actually more surprising. I thought that it would get at least maybe a bit more nominations, like maybe 1 or 2 more, but Destiny 2 is as best live game. Oh, okay, that I can say is actually pretty stupid. Spider-Man 2 has multiple noms, which, again, it's Spider-Man 2. Like, it's not mind-boggling that that's actually a thing that happens. With Final Fantasy 16 also having multiple nods, that also, to me, is not a huge stretch. It's like, some of these I agree with. Like, the one that I most likely agree with is the Destiny 2 one, because that doesn't seem like it's charged by anything sort of console-based, at least from what I'm reading here. But I don't think that deserves the best live game. I think there's I would say Fortnite's probably better than Destiny 2, and I fucking hate Fortnite personally. Well, next up, we've got, of course, Droid here with, dude, Xbox bought Bethesda ABK for $80 billion and still couldn't beat Sony. And then going through a bunch of the most nominated publishers and stuff. I mean, in that same context, according to this nominated publishers here, PlayStation bought a lot of studios, maybe for less, but apparently couldn't beat Nintendo. I don't know. That just kind of seemed very weird to me. Also surprising to see Capcom up there, and Square Enix, and Epic. Weird. Yeah, but I think to kind of round off this video, I have a couple more things here. These are just some extra salty tweets that I put on for this little bit here. So we have a screenshotted tweet of Nicola being like, Xbox PlayStation Portal for Xbox fanboys to enjoy, where he just kind of does the same thing, that he's like sticking an Xbox controller into that. And someone then brings up about, like, they have the Steam Deck, ASUS ROG, Lenovo, Logitech G Cloud. And let me be clear on this. I think that that's kind of fair, but also kind of not. Of all of these, I would actually personally want the Legion Go, because that one actually has the detachable controllers like the Switch actually does. I know I have a Steam Deck and stuff, and I'd still love to use that more for other purposes, but the Lenovo Go would be cool to have for like the actual mouse and clicky bits like that to snap off those controllers to just like put that away. But the Steam Deck still serves its purpose, and it's also getting an OLED version, which, again, pretty decent. But yeah, what's also weird about all of that is that all of those choices are actually PCs. Some of them Xbox/Microsoft already makes money off of, because a lot of those actually use Xbox's services, except for the Steam Deck. I think except for the Steam Deck, the other 3 use not Xbox's services. I mean Windows, like operating system, so they make a little money off the top because they have to sell it to the people there for every sale and blah 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 blah, for like licensing and stuff. But I think that in this context, I don't agree with either of these, because I think that Xbox, if they decided to attempt to make an Xbox type handheld for whatever reason, they could come in and be pretty well established given that, and have a dedicated thing for that. I think that they could do well if they just if they stick the landing, that is. It's very difficult to do, though. But more or less, this one's from Joe, from Seattle. Shout out to you, if you ever do happen to see this. But he posts up a couple of these reviews where Tom Warren comes up and asks why the PlayStation thing exists, with VGC saying the PlayStation Portal is incredibly a sick device that solves a problem not everyone has, with it being like 4 stars, where Tom is more questioning why this thing exists for a full hands-on review. And that's kind of more or less the duality of at least this specific topic here, because for me and for a lot of people that don't like the PlayStation Portal, is because it doesn't operate independently. And that's still one of my biggest problems with not just the Portal, but a lot of Sony's stuff, right? The only thing that works across multiple stuff is their controller. But this one is not just a controller. This is a controller that has to be attached to a PlayStation in order to even be usable. So it's even less versatile and less good than just buying a standard PlayStation controller, which you can at least hook up to your PC or hook up to, I think, a TV to use as a very specific way. I don't know the specifics of it because I don't use that. I use an Xbox controller. Electric, snot green for life, by the way. But it has less functionalities because it has that big screen in there. It also doesn't look comfortable to hold because it's very heavy, at least from the way that it looks. And it's like, oh yeah, but you have a Steam Deck. That's actually much more heavier. It's like, yes, but at least it looks heavy and it feels comfortable in the hands. This doesn't look like it would feel comfortable in the hands because you have that overhang of the screen and it looks like you'd bump your fingers into it, and stuff like that. And again, I don't have it. I really don't feel like I will ever need or want this specific device. It just doesn't seem like my cup of tea. And again, it's not just for the PlayStation Portal, but also for their VR headset. This is, again, going off on a bit of a tangent, so I'll make it quick. The VR headset for PlayStation is good if you discount the fact that it's only available for the PlayStation console. That's the only thing that's holding it back, really, at all. Because here's what I think. If they had, say, a PlayStation Portal, or they had a thing that could connect to, say, Vive or like Steam VR, and there was a way that you could utilize the headset as a cross device where you can use it on a PC or you can use it on your console, I think that's a really good middle ground, because then you have all 3 different types of technology to be used. One would be the standalone versions that has PC capabilities, but is mostly a standalone type deal. You have the exclusive PC hardware stuff for those who want the highest end and to push the best graphics and things like that. And then you have the console middle ground where you can have it hooked up to your PC, but also hook it up to your console and be that bridge that might be able to get people over to other stuff. And again, you just open yourself up to more customers overall. I don't know, maybe I'm weird, maybe it's because I can see a lot of potential in the market for the PlayStation that they're just fucking squandering for whatever reason. Who knows? Who the fuck cares? In any case, I think that'll about do it for this video. If you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any way, shape, or form, reviewership is enough. But if you want to support me monetarily, links to all of my socials, Bandcamp, Gumroad, Patreon, down in the description below. If you want more from me, do expect videos to be mostly every Tuesday. Keep your eye out on the channel. In any case, my name is GamePenguin21. This whole controversy with the Gotti Awards is going to probably go on for the next couple months. And a peace off.
No!